our senior staff member, ACM Ashwini. Your microphone, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council Member. Hello. So we can get started. Are we going to have the, yeah.
Yes. Are you doing the, okay, I just want to check in for attendance. I'll do roll call. Are you, you're taking notes, right, Ashwini? Or are you the one that's?
Steve Chan.
Oh, okay.
The subcommittee.
Here will be taking meeting minutes.
Great, going down the chain of command. I appreciate it. Thank you both. So roll call. Councilor Montano, are you here?
I'm here.
I know. Okay, great. All right. Next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please do the honor, if you may, stand where you are, and I will lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 2 here, approval of agenda. I'll look to Councilor Montano. What do you think?
I so moved.
Okay, I second that. Motion's carried, approved. Item number 3, approval of minutes from the last time we physically met, I suppose.
So moved.
Yes, I second that, and the motion is carried. Item number 3 is approved. Moving on to number 4, public forum. We'll do 1 minute today for the public forum. Mr. Chan, do you have any comments from the public or anybody?
Any public
comment? Yeah, sometimes folks email in any comments.
Yes, so I'll look to Mike and Rochelle. Are you monitoring the inbox?
Yes, and I don't see any public comment right now.
Okay, great. That sounds good to me. And if folks are watching at home, you can always give me an email, or Councilmember Montano, or the both of us. City staff, if folks are watching on the interwebs, the live stream, you can always reach out to us. We are always here for your comments. Moving on here to item number 5 on the agenda, business items. 5.1.
Sorry, Mayor, sorry to interrupt. One just came in. Do you want
to
read it?
Sure. Yeah, please.
So the public comments is from Urvish Mehta, and he's asking about enabling technology and leveraging utilization of public service. Number 1, parking permit program with phone application services. Number 2, pedestrian signals with voice and hands enabled gesture. Number 3, e-permits service availability. Number 4, in-built city transportation system. And I request committee and city council to consider the programs. Your attention to the matter is appreciated, Elvish Mehta. That's the only public comments.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate that. We're gonna have to, for future purposes, loop you in with our city clerk to read comments. Yeah, thank you. Moving on to business items, which is number 5 on our agenda. We'll go with the first one, Tasman Drive, Great Mall Parkway, complete street study. And I'll look to Mr. Chan to move us further here. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. BTA recently completed a complete street study for Tasman and Great Mall Parkway. The study aims to enhance all modes of travel along this corridor. John Sagami from BTA is here this afternoon to provide an overview of the study. John?
Thanks, Steve. Glad you have the presentation with you. And let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is John Subcommittee. I'm a planner with the VTA. I've worked on a lot of things related to Plan Bay Area, but also have been working in the past for the Complete Streets program. And we've completed 2 studies right now. We've completed one for Tasman, which we're going to talk about today, and another one we did for San Jose in Basco. Next slide. So kind of the background of it, we adopted a complete streets policy back in 2016, along with the approval of the Measure B, 2016 Measure B ballot measure. And as part of that, what we did was we looked towards grant funding to fund various complete streets projects. And complete streets is a good way of saying that you want the street to be accessible, not only for the automobile traffic, but also for the pedestrians and bicyclists, any handicapped members of our community that need to access the street. And so what we did was we got a Caltrans grant back in 2017, and we selected a few corridors based on geographic, demographic equity, major destinations, employment, major transit. And the Tasman Complete Streets study was actually a partnership between Milpitas, San Jose, Santa Clara, and Sunnyvale. And from the city of Milpitas, I do want to thank Steve Chan, Ned Thomas, and Jessica Garner for kind of their help on helping me shepherd this project through this process. Next slide. And what the study is basically a 10% design for the Tasman corridor. It's not environmentally cleared, and this is actually a first step. What this actually does is create a vision for the corridor of how it looks like. And we're always going to be working with the city to look for additional funding to move portions of the project forward. I do also want to mention that now that you have the BART station opened and operational, and also the city staff is working on the transit sub-area plan, this kind of ties into that a little bit in a sense that this can help supplement not only the major BART connection that we now have, but also the work going on with the city in terms of the sub-area plan. Next slide. This map talks about it just kind of shows you the study area. It's the entire length of Tasman Drive and Great Mall Parkway, all the way from Morse Avenue in Sunnyvale, all the way to Montague Expressway here in Milpitas, almost touching the BART station, but going through major destinations such as 49er Stadium, the Great Mall, and Cisco. Next slide. We did a couple rounds of public input on this. This graphic kind of illustrates the amount of outreach we did for the project. I do want to note the best way we actually got comments, even more than how we had public interaction, was we created an online survey that was open to the public to fill out, which kind of highlighted the Tasman corridor and allowed the public to fill out locations where there could be some improvements made or some areas where there were accidents. And that kind of helped us input what we now have as a corridor plan that we hope to move forward in the future. Next slide. So some of the priorities that were afforded to us from this survey and other ways of public outreach was that the big thing that popped up was more comfortable sidewalks and safer bike facilities. That seemed to be kind of the big ticket, was safety and how can someone like a regular person use the corridor more efficiently. And with the opening of BART and the new Orange Line light rail service, we're hopeful that this study highlights some of the ways that the public can access the street. Next slide. In terms of the pedestrian improvements and for the plan, we looked at things such as high visibility crosswalks, adaptive pedestrian signals. We looked at widening sidewalks, widening travel paths, improved wayfinding, and closing sidewalk gaps. Next slide. In terms of bicycle improvements, we are looking at things such as a vertical separation, which is those bollards that you see in that first picture. The implementation of a cycle track in parts of Milpitas. Things such as two-stage bike turn boxes, where they're more of a safety feature, where a bicycle has a spot where they're visible to traffic, and they're able to move forward through the intersection, around the intersection, and be safe. We looked at green paint for conflict areas and buffered bike lanes in most of the sections along Tasman. Next slide. I'm going to go through about 10 samples of improvements that we're looking at in the city of Milpitas. The first being the Coyote Creek and McCarthy area, where we're looking at improving the intersection at McCarthy and Tasman. And currently along the path moving eastward, there's a lot of shrubs that are kind of overgrown. We want to clear those out, make the sidewalk a little bit more visible, and also expand the bike lane where where we may have to reduce a travel lane. But all of it is in the name of safety. One of the things we're also looking at is in the future, looking at adjusting the signal timing at McCarthy and Tasman, where there'll be more time for a separate bike signal, as well as more time for pedestrians and bikes to move through the intersection.
So when do we have time for questions?
You can ask them now or ask them at the end, whichever you prefer.
Or comments?
Comments. Sure.
So Mayor, can we ask now or do we wait till the end?
Well, this is a fun meeting. If you have any questions at any point, just let's have a engaging time. So you could ask now.
Okay, you mentioned about the bike lanes and the bike lanes where you will need to reduce the street. So I have a big concern about that. I've heard so many people complaining from San Jose that they took away traffic lanes, and the consumer, the citizens, they're concerned with that. And I recall when we brought that up in our city council meeting at one time to put some green lanes, we stated to the public that we were not going to reduce any traffic lanes. We were just going to paint the sidewalks, the bike lanes green, which I agree. But as far as reducing any traffic, vehicle traffic, the vehicle lanes, I'm really against that. And so can you clarify if that's what you said?
Sure. Just to clarify, when we're talking about we're just talking about reducing lane width. We're not actually asking to remove a lane from traffic.
Reducing lane width, and what does that mean then?
So right now, so each lane has a width of, generally speaking, about 11 to 12 feet. We're just reducing that in some cases from 12 to 11 or 11 to 10. But again, this is kind of a document that doesn't have the full engineering, input in it right now. It's a kind of a visionary study.
Well, at least you're aware of our comments, because I'm pretty sure all the council members were against any kind of reduction in.
I don't think we're doing that here. Yeah.
Okay.
Council member Steve Chan here. I want to interject that these are concepts that the study have presented. These are elements we could definitely adopt if appropriate. Again, these are the vision that the study have presented from the study results. So it's nothing that we're trying to implement. These are just vision ideas.
Oh, okay. It's not binding. It's not binding. Okay.
Correct.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and just also for your information, I actually took an earlier item to the Planning Commission sometime last year. Mm-hmm. And I heard the same comment about the concern about, losing a travel lane, which we're not.
Okay.
We're not asking for that.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Next slide. Another area that we're looking at is closing a sidewalk gap currently between McCarthy and Alder on the eastbound direction. Right now, I think it's just a berm with a bike lane. I think one of the concepts is to add a 10-foot sidewalk just for that segment there. Next slide. And this is a topic, and in the next two slides, there'll be a picture of how this actually looks. But we've been looking at implementing a shared use path on the north end of Tasman Drive, basically the westward direction. And what it is a class 4 cycle facility, which is two ways in nature. So you can go both east and west on it. We're also looking to expand the bike lane on the eastbound travel lane with vertical separation, which means something like a bollard or some sort of a visual barrier between the automobile and traffic. Next slide. Another area is we're continuing on the bike improvements, where we're looking at on the both sides of Tyson between McCarthy and Montague. Again, travel lane widths, not remove a lane, and provide a buffered bike lane with vertical separation, green striping in conflict areas, so at intersections and things like that, and providing bike turn boxes where the bicyclist can actually post safely before either crossing the street or moving through an intersection. Next slide. And if you look at the, and as you can see my mouse, but if you look on this rendering, you'll see on one side you'll have all your travel lanes. There's a separate access path that goes two ways. For the bicyclist, is a shared use path, so a bicyclist or a pedestrian can be on it. We're also including sidewalk features along that corridor. And kind of at the bottom here is where you see kind of the green striping for the conflict areas. And wherever there's a bus stop, there'll be some bicycle markings for that too. And moving forward, you'll see a vertical separation or some sort of barrier throughout the travel way. Next slide. And we also, as part of the project, looking at the Great Mall Light Rail Station, as well as the I-880 Light Rail Station. We're looking at improving kind of the station area, having, better lighting, wayfinding signage, high visibility, distinctive crosswalks that are kind of more decorative in nature, and a safe passage for buses to, drop off their passengers, as well as keep it safe for bicyclists, and good lighting. So the drawing below is a sample of that. This is just not representative of every intersection, but just a sampling of how it might look. Next slide. We also do some bus stop improvements along the corridor, try to improve kind of how the bus stops look right now, where it's generally speaking just a pole and possibly a bench, but looking to maybe have a shelter, garbage cans, street furniture, scheduled display if we were able to on a couple of these stop areas. So that's another area where the VTA actually implemented a transit passenger environment plan that looked at various locations around the county that identified certain bus stop areas to be improved. And there's a couple in Milpitas that we think we can do. Next slide. And this is one of the major projects in the corridor. Again, this is a concept level. It's to modify the northbound 880 ramp interchange. Right now, what we're looking to do is kind of reconfigure some of the eastbound free right turn movement at the 880 loop to make it a little bit more safer for pedestrians and bicyclists to cross the street. And then kind of have high visibility crosswalk treatment, so cars don't feel like they have to speed right through the intersection, where they'll be a little bit more careful seeing folks move along it. The next slide actually shows the rendering of that as well. As you can see, what we're trying to do is have a safer access for the bicyclists to move forward, but still have the opportunity for the automobile traffic to have a free right turn onto the 880 ramp. Next slide. At the intersection of Great Mall and Able Street, what we want to do is improve the intersection by installing, two-stage left turn boxes for bicyclists, high visibility crosswalks, and kind of removing the free northbound right turn in Pork Chop Island that's currently on Able Street, and to possibly install a no right turn on red sign for a vehicle. Again, as Steve mentioned, that these are some of the things that are visionary for the corridor. However, noting that there's still a lot more work to be done in terms of planning and designing for the project, as well as more public outreach. Next slide.
That's really great to hear, John. Councilmember Montana, you like that part of town, don't you?
Yeah, because I live, because I live in that neck of the woods.
So this rendering kind of shows how that would eventually look like, as you see at the
yeah.
bottom, to remove the free right turn lane. But still, you're still maintaining all the travel lanes through Great Mall Parkway, and kind of adding kind of more distinctive features for the pedestrians. I know there's a few apartment complexes around Great Mall Parkway, and there's going to be more development further down the corridor. So having treatments for the public and safe space for bikes turning and moving is always good. Next slide.
See, John, you're making a direct impact today for the community. So carry on, my friend. Yeah.
Thank you. Another, and one of the last areas that we're looking at is the intersection at Great Mall Parkway and Main Street. Now, admittedly, this is an interesting intersection because of the rail track that goes through the intersection. And, you know, I will confess that during this process, we did meet with CPUC on a lot of the crossings we have in relation to this corridor. They didn't flag anything. However, we did not have success in reaching it, in getting a hold of UPRR because they own that rail crossing right there. So there's still a lot more work to be done with them on these improvements.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, that just wanted to make a comment. That intersection there is really, it's not safe actually, and you see accidents because by the time people reach, let's say the light turns green, and by the time they reach halfway, it turns yellow and red, and so sometimes they stop in the middle of the road. It's really bad. I think maybe you concentrate on, if VTA can concentrate on how to make, kind of brainstorm how to make improvements on that. I don't know what, but something needs to be done because, like I said, people stop in the middle of the road and it's not safe, and that's that section right there.
Duly noted, council member. Thank you so much. We have just the right people here in this meeting, and I'm sure your comments are duly noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you go to the next slide, this actually has a rendering of how we think the improvements might work in that intersection. So we're looking at kind of squaring off that right turn lane on Main Street, making that kind of a feature for the pedestrians to safely cross. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what we can do with the UPRR tracks, but also kind of improving the crosswalks and have better crosswalk striping. Obviously, there's light rail and buses over there. One of the things that we're also doing is the original two-way cycle track feature that we had identified earlier on in the presentation. It will actually continue beginning from Main Street towards Montague Expressway. Next slide.
Oh, John, before you, may I just make a comment on that? Just for the mayor and council member Montano, as we continue with the update of the Metro plan, our Metro consultants and the city team will continue working with VTA on these intersections along Great Mall Parkway. As you may recall from our presentation to you about the Metro plan a few weeks ago, this parkway is one of the key concepts that we want to explore through that plan. So we'll continue working with DCAN and with the great staff from VTA on some of these safety issues and making these intersections more pedestrian friendly, as well as workable for vehicles and light rail and everything else that's going on. This one particular intersection is challenging.
Oh, good. Thank you.
There's a lot of coordination.
Yeah, it's good.
And finally, we're looking at kind of just improving that intersection at Great Mall Parkway and Montague Expressway. Right now, again, trying to just make it safer for folks to cross the street. Right now, there's a kind of a pork chop island situation over there in some locations. So what we're intending to do in that area is raising the crosswalks between the pork chop islands and the sidewalk, just so it's more visible to traffic that's sometimes speeding to make a turn. Also noting that this is also, the Montague Expressway is also managed by the county. So in order to do this improvement, we do have to coordinate with county staff on that. Next slide. So basically, we've completed the final complete streets plan, which we earlier released in spring. I believe I was trying to come to an earlier meeting, but through COVID or another reason, this is the time we can come. But that's fine because right now what I'm doing is working with other cities on attending their meetings, meeting with the city of San Jose in at the end of the month to talk about Tasman as well, and working with Santa Clara and Sunnyvale to schedule something. And then after that happens, what we'll do is take it to our committee process, just so our committee and the board see what we're doing with the plan. And there'll be more coordination, obviously, with VTA and the cities to look for funding to design and construct these projects, as well as take it through environmental. So there's still some things we need to work on in terms of trying to get more money to do some of these improvements. And the improvements that we shared today are kind of, can be done on a phased approach, where there are easier things that we can do that don't affect kind of a bigger project. That in some cases, either we can use Measure B money or TDA or TFCA funds or some other source of money to actually implement. So I'll end my presentation there to open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. We want to thank you. We're going to take more comments and questions for you, but I do want to say thank you first for you being here with us today and scheduling your date so that you can update us here with the Tasman corridor. I'm super excited to see the update from the study so far. Councilmember Montano and I actually are the two council members that live closest to kind of Milpitas portion of the corridor. And as we move forward throughout this century, and I believe that VTA is making all the right decisions as the development happens near the public transportation light rail that we have there.
Right.
I feel like the Tasman corridor is going to be sort of like the Broadway, New York City Broadway, connecting our great Silicon Valley here, and with all the development happening next to the Levi's Stadium, as well as Milpitas and all the way to the west. I think these improvements are going to really allow for our quality of life and just public safety. I think of the slide you showed with all the points of interest, but also the companies. I would say a couple years ago, actually, when this study was in its initial or in a different previous stage, actually, I got a letter from one of our local companies, and there was actually a moving vehicle accident where one of the employees of our private companies was on their bicycle, and they were in a collision with the vehicle, and the person actually passed away. And so we were getting a lot of, at least I received a letter from one of our local companies that really was in support of the work that you're doing along with the VTA. So to see all these changes that are being planned, it means a lot to just everyday folks. And so with your management and policy application, I want to thank you for your work on it, and being with us today is an extension of the work, the great work that you're doing. So Councilmember Montano.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. So I also ditto what you're saying. This area is going to be the next corridor that it's also a branding with our city, if you will, because we're right now our city is working on branding to make Milpitas more, I guess, putting us on the map, if you will. But we're kind of growing up, and especially when Bart's here. Now that Bart is here, we're trying to find ways to, showcase our city. And I agree with the mayor that this Tasman corridor is very important. Him and I pushed for the green, I think about 6 months ago when we were going over our budget, and we wanted to see those bike lanes painted green, because a lot of folks don't, a lot of drivers can't see the bike, the people on the bike line. They for some reason, I guess the lines those white lines get faded out after a while. So I'm really happy that we're going to be having those green, that green striping, so that way it could alert, or that way the drivers can see them. So that's really important for that safety part. The other thing I wanted to mention was is the art. There's that bridge on 880, and I've always envisioned, because I live right there, right stone's throw away from right the off ramp of 880, that behind that sound wall right there. And so I go through Tasman every day practically when I go to shopping and to Walmart or go to McCarthy Ranch, and I've always envisioned that bridge to have some art, because some type of art where like a relief or facing, or some type of facing on that bridge overpass from the freeway. And I'm thinking maybe with this plan that you guys are envisioning, we can have something like that, because as the mayor said, this is going to be a main corridor to the BART and to, you got Cisco, and then you have the 49er Stadium. And I've also noticed that there's a restaurant that just opened up in that part of the high tech area, the campus. So yeah, it's moving along. It's developing, and I'm glad that your plan is going to be making some really nice improvements. So great job. I really do appreciate that, and maybe putting that art piece is important in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Montano. Okay, great. Did staff want to add any comments at this time?
Steve Chan here. So we do have a public comment related to this item. I want to read that out to the subcommittee. The city are taking smart city approach with vehicles proximity. Also to consider separate lane for autonomous vehicle from Yuvish Meta.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. We will continue to work with VTA, our city staff, Mr. Chan, and planning, and our city manager's office. Thank you so much, John. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Moving on to business item number 2, SB 743, vehicle miles traveled for assessing transportation impacts under CEQA, and that's presented by planning. I'll look to our planning department.
Thank you, Mayor Tran, and Councilmember Montano. We appreciate the time today. As you noted, we have our planning consultant, Karen Mack, and also our new principal planner, Jane Lee, are both here today. I believe this is the first time for both of them to present to members of the council. So we welcome them today, and they will be jointly presenting to you about SB 743, which is the policy for vehicle miles traveled. It's related to California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. And the council received an info memo about this. We'll be making a presentation to the full council next week, but we wanted to give you a preview today. So I'll turn the time over to Jay and Karen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm excited to present on this topic. And we will be discussing the implementation of Senate Bill 743. We can go to the next slide. Our presentation outline, we will start with providing a quick background on the topic, and then review the current method for analyzing transportation impacts under CEQA, which is level of service, and then discuss new methods, the new method of analysis, which is vehicle miles traveled, and then share the schedule that we have to develop and implement the citywide VMT policy. So this presentation is, it'll serve as an introduction to vehicle miles traveled, but of course, we welcome any early questions, thoughts, feedback, and concerns. So with the background, as Karen will explain in more detail, level of service is no longer considered an impact under CEQA. Therefore, we are working on a citywide VMT policy to establish consistency in our analysis for development projects. Which will lead to more efficient project management and hopefully less vulnerability to legal challenges. Of course, we have our general plan. The existing general plan provides LOS policies. And as you are all aware, we are currently updating our general plan, which will update these LOS policies to comply with state law and provide new policies that address VMT. We are also updating our climate action plan, which has the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, we want this VMT policy to support that goal as well. It's not on this slide, but we also have a couple of specific plans. The Metro plan, which is currently being updated, and also the previous Midtown specific plan, which we will hopefully update next year. So with all these efforts going on and us starting our work on the VMT policy, we think it's great that the timing works out, because we think we have a great opportunity to support and facilitate growth in the right areas. So for more detail about Senate Bill 743 and the transition from LOS to VMT, I will pass it off to Karen.
Thank you. California got serious about global warming in 2006 when they passed AB 32, the Global Warming Solutions Act, which set a mandate for reducing GHG emissions in the state of California. Senate Bill 743 is part of a long line of legislation that was passed by the state of California to address global warming and GHG emissions. Senate Bill 743 redefines the criteria for determining the significance of transportation environmental impacts. When the state passed the bill, they adopted a guideline and updated the statute. At that point, they gave California cities till July 2020 to no longer use level of service to measure CEQA transportation impacts. They did not mandate, but they also said that VMT was the most appropriate measure to measure environmental transportation impacts. But they said whatever metric that a city, California city adopted has to do three things. It has to promote the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. It has to encourage the development of a multimodal transportation network. And it also has to promote and encourage the density and diversity of land uses proximate to transit. Next slide, please. Level of service has been around for 50 years. It was started being used primarily when CEQA was adopted in 1970. The state of California uses it all nationwide. Everybody uses level of service. Level of service, the methodology measures congestion levels at signalized intersections. It focuses on weekday commute traffic, and primarily it measures peak hour traffic in the morning and the evening because it's the highest concentration of traffic at any one given time. The level of service methodology assigns a level letter grade A through F to indicate the level of congestion, A being good, F being not as good. For kind of an example, expressways often function at E or F. I'm sure we have plenty on Montague. I know we have plenty on Montague. Mitigation for level of service to mitigate a level of service impact typically requires roadway widening, addition of left turn pockets, addition of right turn pockets. And lastly, level of service does focus and facilitate vehicle traffic. Next slide, please. What is VMT? Vehicle miles traveled. VMT has been around for a long time. We've been measuring it for years, and we most recently use it for greenhouse gas, for air quality, etc. A vehicle miles traveled is the distance in miles that a driver drives from point A to point B. This graphic comes from a very popular little YouTube video that Fair and Peers transportation consultants put together, and it's been circulated. It's on the web. But as you can see, it illustrates that one car traveling 1 mile is 1 vehicle mile traveled. 4 vehicles traveling 10 miles, that equals 40 vehicle miles traveled. So next slide, please.
I love the graphic. Carry on.
You might see the video later. So
okay.
Just extending from VMT, how we use that when we're measuring project vehicle mile traveled impacts. How would we use that? The proposed methodology is this. The first thing that the city staff will have to do is establish a baseline, and that would be the average VMT in Milpitas. Then secondly, we would establish a target VMT reduction, and that would be our threshold. Third thing we would do is we would map out the existing VMT levels in Milpitas. What are people doing today? How far are they driving from their residences? How far are they driving to jobs? So there's 2 distinct land uses that are focused, and one is the residential land uses, and one is the office land use or the employment land uses. And the state focus, because that is simply the highest concentration of traffic that cities could actually have the most success in trying to promote some mode shift, if you will. The fourth, oops, I lost the video for some reason. Can you put the slide back up, Jay? I don't know why I lost the video. That's okay, I have it. Are you guys still looking at the slide on the screen?
No, we see you.
Oh, that's
Mike from IT, would you assist us?
Thank you. Okay, so we were at establishing existing VMT levels in Milpitas. So what are the residents and the employees? How far are they driving today? The fourth thing we would do is we would measure VMT with our proposed developments. So if we had a residential development, we would add that to an area of town with either higher or low VMT and see what the resulting VMT it ends up being. Number 5 is just adding density, diversity, and proximity to transit will typically lower the VMT. So for example, if you have a single family detached neighborhood, no diversity of land uses, typically further away from transit, and you added for example, a shopping center close by, you have probably reduced VMT because you have created probably shorter trips. So you lowered your VMT, and also the ability to not have to drive. So that's how VMT works. Lastly, projects that meet the threshold, that whatever reduction that the city staff that gets adopted in the policy would have a less than significant impact. Projects that do not meet that threshold would have a significant VMT impact that would require mitigation. The intent of VMT, the VMT methodology, is really to to streamline developments in places where we have the ability to not have to drive. And so that's what we're measuring here. Next slide, please. Thank you. VMT mitigation. So how do we, again, we're going to expand a little bit on reducing how we might reduce VMT. And it really equates to reducing driving. There's four main types that are considered VMT reductions. The first we discussed, project location, project density, land use diversities. And again, I always use Santana Row as an example, as a place where you could live, work, eat, shop, go to the gym, and never have to get in a car. That's kind of what a diverse, dense land use looks like. It doesn't have to be like that, but that's the concept. The second type is multimodal transportation improvements. You have to, in order to ride a bike, having good bicycle facilities, good access to transit, good pedestrian network, all of those are considered VMT mitigations and would reduce VMT. The fourth type is parking strategies. Parking strategies, at face value, reducing parking should equate to less driving. But we as working in cities know that that's a lot simpler sounding than when you actually implement that. So we'll have to be really careful when we look at parking strategies to align the concept with areas that could look at some of these strategies and not implement some parking strategies when it's not appropriate in certain areas of the city. The fourth type is transportation demand management. Of course, TDM programs are very popular with employers. They, in many cases, embrace TDM programs, and they like to offer them to their employees. To a lesser extent, some residential projects can have TDM programs. An example of TDM programs are transit subsidies, providing light rail passes at discount or free, parking cash out, paying people to not need a parking space. What else do we have? We have telecommuting, alternative work schedules. All of those are valid and successful TDM measures. Next slide, please. This is a quick summary, just comparing LOS to VMT. I'll go through this real quick. Level of service measures project vehicles at intersections. VMT measures the total amount of project vehicle miles generated by the proposed development. Level of service focuses on the peak hour only. Vehicle miles travel focuses on all day travel. Level of service focuses on automobile travel. Vehicle miles travel focuses on all travel. Level of service facilitates driving. Vehicle miles traveled facilitates all transportation options. Level of service can increase vehicle capacity. That's typically the mitigation. Vehicle miles traveled will improve or pedestrian, bicycle, or transit access. Level of service can encourage suburban development. Vehicle miles traveled really encourages more urban development. Level of service can increase GHG emissions, and vehicle mile traveled aims to reduce GHG emissions. So that's kind of a comparison of the two metrics. Next slide, please. As we move forward with the policy, these are the considerations that we have to resolve. We have to do our research. We have to look at what other cities are doing. So first of all, we have to be in alignment with the state guidance and also our city policies. So as we move forward, we will identify what is the appropriate baseline and threshold for Milpitas. We will try to align Milpitas's land use goals with VMT goals. We will look at impact and mitigations to see what mitigations are appropriate for Milpitas. And also we would evaluate the exemptions. The state offers a variety of exemptions for development in certain locations because it promotes, it reduces driving alone. And so we will look at those exemptions and again, determine what is appropriate for our city. The future of level of service is the next consideration. It's important. Cities need to make sure that our transportation roadway network is efficient and is operating the best it can. Everybody still uses it, so we have to figure out how level of service can be used in the future. I happen to know that in this Bay Area, only the city of San Francisco did not adopt the level of service criteria. All the rest of the cities kept level of service in some form in their VMT policies. And lastly, there will be new procedures that we'll need to implement with adoption of this new policy. We'll have to align, change our CEQA documents so that they meet the VMT format and methodology. Now I'll turn it over to Jay to talk about timeline.
So this is our timeline to complete this project. We are already conducting technical evaluation, looking at the existing conditions and policies in our city, so we can get a better grasp of what kind of a policy would work best for Milpitas and for our city. So we're right in the thick of that. And then the next step would be for public engagement, where we will create a VMT webpage with FAQs, so that we can provide information and resources to the public. We are also reaching out to, of course, decision makers and advisory bodies, such as this subcommittee right here and upcoming city council next week and planning commission the week after. We are also reaching out to developers. For example, we want to bring this item to the community development developer roundtable so that we can give a heads up to all the developers with these changes that are coming. So once we do this engagement and get a lot of great feedback from everyone, we will start to develop our actual policy. And with the feedback and all our analysis of the existing conditions and policies, we will be able to formulate a policy that really works for us and promotes growth in the right areas and aligns with our general plan and specific plans. And following, of course, we want to implement this effort first with adoption of the policy by council, and then continue training to staff, but also consultants, just on how to use this policy and how to comply with this policy and also state law. So we hope to wrap this all up by the end of the year, as you can see in the timeline. So this concludes our presentation, and Karen and I, and also Ned, we're available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you both for the presentation. I always am excited about the work in planning under Ned's leadership, and I think it's great. Maybe long overdue. Kudos to our state Senate for and those leaders who are pushing for a more precise measure of assessing the transportation impacts. I believe the council will be very much looking forward to this update. Councilmember Montano, do you want to chime in at all? If not, we'll move forward.
Yeah, we can move forward. Yeah,
okay.
We can move forward.
Great. Thank you, Karen and Jay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I want to add there is a public comment on this item.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. We'll take that.
Okay. The city of Milpitas to consider the SB 667 greenhouse gases recycling infrastructure and facility for reducing greenhouse gas for better environmental justice. As part of California's climate investment project, the city of Milpitas Southwest Slide is still considered deprived community due to the odor issue. By enrolling for the bill, the city of Milpitas will benefit from greenhouse reduction. City of Milpitas must consider to support the bill. From resident Yuvish Mehta.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all comments. Very well. We'll move forward here to business item number 3, diverging goals of traffic calming and traffic congestion relief measures. I'll look to our staff here. I'm not sure which person.
I will present this item, Steve Chen.
Awesome. Yes.
IT, can you bring up the slide? Okay, item number 3, diverging goal of traffic calming and traffic congestion relief measures. What is traffic calming? Traffic calming goals are to improve safety and quality of life by reducing vehicle speed and decrease cut-through traffic. Typical traffic calming strategy includes signing, striping, traffic control devices like warning beacons, pedestrian or radar speed feedback sign, and such. Additional strategy include vertical deflection. These are physical measures installed in the roadway. They include speed hump, speed table, road dips, rumble strip, raised crosswalk, and raised intersection. And then lastly, the last categories of strategy include modifying the roadway geometry. This includes narrowing the travel lane, reducing a travel lane, putting curb bulb out to pinch the roadway, at road chicane that people will have to drive around, and dead-end street as well as one-way street. Next slide, please. What is congestion relief goals? They are to improve the predictable and efficient movement of goods and pay people to reduce congestion cost burden to the community. These strategies typically include managing travel demand. This includes mode shift, getting people to not drive, but walk, bike, or take transit, as well as shifting their travel time to other periods. Next strategy is traffic signal timing optimization so that vehicles stop less in intersection or signalized intersection. Next strategy is to do intersection capacity improvement. This is adding additional left turn, right turn lane, and increasing turn pockets at intersection to accommodate the vehicle flow. And lastly, ultimately to increase or relieve congestion, this includes roadway capacity improvement by adding additional travel lane. Next slide, please. Both traffic calming and traffic congestion relief projects are approved in the capital improvement program that we have adopted. 2 key projects are citywide traffic modeling. This is focusing on congestion relief, and then citywide traffic safety assessment. This is focusing on traffic calming measures. These 2 objective, traffic calming and congestion relief, kind of is a mismatch and objective. Traffic calming aims to slow vehicle speed, while congestion relief aims to keep traffic moving without interruption. Next slide, please. To achieve both the traffic calming and congestion relief goal in these projects, staff proposes the following approach. Focusing on congestion relief measure to provide efficient traffic flow on arterial street without compromising safety. By this, I mean major commute route that go to the city. These include Example Street, Dixon Langdon Road, Milpitas Boulevard, McCarty Boulevard, Jacqueline Road, Able Street, and Great Mall Parkway, to name a few. Next slide, please. And for traffic calming measure, the staff is proposing to focus these measures on minor collector streets and residential streets by reducing cut-through traffic and lowering vehicle speed. Example of minor collector street and residential street include Yosemite Drive, Hillview Drive, Abbott Avenue, North Park Victoria Drive, Escuela Parkway, Washington Avenue, Dixon Road, Cedar Way, to name a few. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation in the diverging goals of traffic calming and congestion relief. I'm open to question and comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. I want to ask about the CIP projects that we have approved. Just get an update. In no particular order, one was the traffic study. I know we had discussed and previously that we're going to delay that until BART opened, but now that BART is open, we face and deal and experience with this new pandemic traffic, if I may, respectively. From your position, what is the outlook for that traffic study?
So before the pandemic, our goal, staff goal, was to conduct the traffic data collection for this modeling study and traffic safety assessment approximately 12 months after BART opens. Since the COVID pandemic has happened and BART has opened, traffic conditions have definitely not been normal. Traffic volume has been down. I think they're still down as of this moment, even though some portion of the economy has opened it back up. But this is, staff does not believe this is the normal traffic condition that will continue indefinitely. So we definitely have to wait and see how the pandemic would, end, or how it would continue to change travel pattern. Our goal is still to target the 12-month period. If the pandemic continues, we got to reassess and regroup and kind of strategize what is the appropriate time to collect traffic data to commence this two projects.
Thank you so much. That helps out greatly as we continue to be in the community and speak with residents and commuters. And there are quite very much a number of our residents that are interested in that. And so I appreciate that update. That is information I will relay to many folks in town. We appreciate that. And that makes a lot of sense to me, the strategy there, Mr. Chen. And so my other question was about the other CIP project. A lot of excitement about that, the calming measures and sort of real projects in the streets, intersections of Milpitas. Can you provide an update there?
Yes, so there's currently two traffic calming projects getting ready to hit the street. They're the radar speed feedback sign as well as the pedestrian warning beacon project. Staff is wrapping up the construction document. We are planning to advertise that and bring it to council for consideration for award in the first meeting in October.
Awesome, very exciting. And how many locations?
Combined between the enhanced crosswalk with beacons and radar speed feedback sign, we have a total of 14 locations right now.
Wow, that's truly gonna be very well received by our residents. We appreciate your work on that on behalf of many residents, as much as I can gather, and so that's great. We'll go to Councilmember Montano. Did you want to add? Yes.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you have 14, you said, in different parts of the city. Are those 14 on the ones from the street? Are they going to go on the streets that you listed? You mentioned Escuela.
Yeah,
those are the areas. Okay.
This was brought to council at an early meeting. I think council viewed them and we took your input and incorporate additional intersection as you noted.
Okay, I'm really glad about those flashing beacons because, we get a lot of we've had a few incidents, but I'm glad that we're just trying to prevent any accidents from happening. So I think that's really important, especially around schools, especially Escuela and Jacqueline, where there's so much traffic coming off of 680 and people dropping their kids off. But right now in COVID, that's not happening, but who knows, it might happen, it might come back again. But that was one of the big areas that we were concerned about. So I'm glad that the mayor brought up the CIP projects, because that's really important for the council. So keep up the great work. You're doing a great job. This is exactly what we wanted. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And then we'll go to public comment, Mr. Chan, if there is any.
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, under business items.
And this will be me again. So number 4,
Yes.
time limited parking for city parking lots. Currently, no city ordinance exists to restrict or limit the amount of time for parking within city parking lot. Vehicles have been observed parking for a prolonged period of time during the day as well as night in parking lots near high-density residential development, such as Dixon Park and Bob McGuire Park. This reduces parking availability to other park users and hinders city park facility rental. Next slide, please. Implementation of parking restriction for parking lots would alleviate parking congestion at city parks and would provide space for others. Some of the pros of implementing parking restriction includes 2 to 4 or 6 hour time limited parking restriction for parking lots would provide greater opportunity for the public to access the park, and facilitate rental of the park facility for party and etc. Some of the cons are that the park user may not be able to use the parking lot for extended park usage, and signage improvement and parking enforcement expenditure would be required to implement this parking restriction. Next slide, please. So for discussion, we like to get the subcommittee's opinion on should we continue with the current practice of unlimited parking in the city parking lot with no restriction within city parks, or develop parameters for time parking and restriction for city parking lots. And this afternoon, we also have Renee Lorenzen, Recreation Director, as well as Tony Enda, a Public Works Director, to weigh in on some of their experience with parking in city parking lots.
Yes, we'll go to, we'll start with Renee. Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilmember Montano. I'm here to help answer any questions as part of the discussion. We do have several parks in Milpitas that have parking lots, and a few that are impacted are, like Stephen mentioned, in Dixon Landing, Bob McGuire, and a little bit at Serrano Park. But I'm here primarily to help answer any questions that you might have as part of the discussion today.
Thank you so much, and I will now check in with Tony if you have any comment now.
Thank you, Mayor. No comment at this moment, but I'll be here to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Great, great. And then I will go to my panelist column, and I do see the first virtual raised hand of this subcommittee meeting, our Assistant City Manager, Ashwini, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Tran. I just wanted to add a couple of comments as background for bringing this item forward. So in an earlier presentation, you heard Karen Mack talk about TDM measures and some of the things that we've been using, reduced parking in some of these new developments. So we've been looking at what issues that's creating with regards to, then again, our lots, as Steve talked about. So this would provide an opportunity for us to maximize some of our parking lots, even overnight. Like we've been thinking about maybe opening those up so that you don't have parking lots just sitting empty and creating parking situations, but then managing sort of mitigation of somebody using it for long-term parking by doing the time parking similar to what we have instituted around the BART station. So the combination of sort of using our facilities to the maximum extent possible, but then also striking a balance between the residents and other park users who want to come use it. This is, we'd like to explore some of these options moving forward. And it would need, if council decided this is the path they want to take, we would need to make some changes to the municipal code.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to see this business item up for discussion this afternoon. It is, I think, certainly an important item of discussion. I can understand the challenges or the management challenges we have at some of our city parking lots, very much the ones Renee mentioned, spot on. These are city parks in the residential zones with higher density. We want to ensure that our residents from those neighborhoods and all across the city, because residents do traverse our city and visit all our parks. We want to ensure that there is a certain quality of life standard for folks that want to enjoy citywide parks. And I do think it's very worthwhile to move this item forward for council consideration for time limited parking. I certainly agree that we need to have a measure there for a fair opportunity for folks to park. And also, it may be at least twofold, if not many more folds, to mitigate some other challenges that may arise due to vehicles that are parked there for a longer term period of time for whatever reason. And so if today's discussion is about the value of this proposal of time limited parking, then I will say clearly that this is of significant value for our city to put some time into to ensure that we have the right parking policies. And so I will look to Councilmember Montano to also add to the discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. I totally agree. And we build these beautiful parks like McGuire Park, for example, and yet no one can come and, people can't go out there and enjoy the park or even to use the facility because there's no parking. That, to me, that site is, it's being, all the residents are using up that parking, and that's not right. So I really do want to move forward with some type of restrictions. I know it's going to be costly because we're going to have to do street signage and enforcement and so forth, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Something has to be done. The beautiful parks, the facilities, it can't be used because the biggest obstacle is the parking. And those residents are using city parking for their own benefit. And I'm not sure why when that project was developed, I mean, they were supposed to have enough parking for everyone. So yeah, these are some big issues. And also with Dixon Landing, the park, the same thing. Most of those cars are from the residents at the Millmont apartments, and some of them, who knows how, if they're just cars that have been there for a long time. So there definitely has to be some type of restriction. And the other point that I wanted to make was that when there's so many cars there, when we do our street sweeping, when that is done, they can't even sweep the streets. And I've seen that happen at many other sites, like Rose Child Care Center. You have those streets they haven't been swept in ages because the cars are always parked there. So I'm even thinking about maybe other sites that we could target where the cars are always, there's so many cars there that the street sweeping cannot even occur there. And you have so much trash that has accumulated over the years. So yeah, we need to do something. We need to move forward with this, and then when the details come about what time, then hopefully we can have some input on that, so it won't have some effects on, other users that use the park from outside, from throughout the city. So yeah, I agree with you, Mayor. It's time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So I'll look to staff here if there's any further feedback or information that you may need this afternoon. Please let Councilmember Montano and I know. And if this particular discussion has been sufficient, then we can move forward.
Mayor, just
Yes.
one more thing. So I think we'd look at timed parking and bring some options to council. And then also if you had any input on the thought of sort of allowing for overnight parking, since the parking lots are supposedly staying empty. I mean, they're not supposed to park there. So maybe allowing for that, acknowledging that, we are providing less parking ratios now for newer development, but then during the day, we won't have residents taking up the spaces.
Yes.
So you're saying that in the evening when, like, let's say from 10 to 6, people can park there? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's an
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I agree. Great. Okay, I look forward to this item being moved forward and seeing some positive changes one day soon. Okay, great. And we'll go to public comment if there's any.
And there is no public comment for this item.
Sounds very well to me this afternoon. Thank you. Moving on to business item number 5, the 2020 work plan. And we'll look to staff.
This is my item as well. IS, would you please bring up the slide or the agenda item? The meeting agenda item, please. Well, while Mike is bringing up the slide. Oh, here we go. So for the remaining 2020 calendar year, staff is proposing for the next 2 meetings, October 2020 and December 2020, the following agenda item to be discussed. They are the Trail, Bikeway, and Pedestrian Master Plan update, General Plan Circulation Element update, the Pilot Street Sweeping Project for the October 2020 meeting. And then for December 2020 meeting, we want to bring the following items: the Bay Area Express Lane update, the City Pavement Index update, as well as the Union Pacific Railroad Quiet Zone topic to discussion.
Okay.
Is that agreeable for both mayor as well as council member Montano?
That looks great to me.
So when will the Trails, Bikeway, and Pedestrian Master Plan be given to us?
We are getting ready to complete the draft master plan. So that will kind of come in line with the October 2020 master plan agenda item. So we'll give you plenty of time to review it before we present this item in October. We believe we're going to have the draft plan within the next month.
Okay, and that'll show all the trails at the transit area, right?
Citywide. It will include citywide trails, bikeway, as well as pedestrian facility improvements.
Okay. Now I know that. What was it? Not ABAG. What was that? Open Space Authority. They promote, and even Santa Clara Valley Water District promote trails. So we're working with them to.
Correct. We have reached out to all the partnering agency, including the Water District, the County Roads and Airport, City of Fremont, City of San Jose, how we could interface a facility with theirs, so it's a seamless connection beyond the city limit.
Great. One last one on the trails. You know, we have that Hetch Hetchy corridor that runs through Sunny Hills, and I've always envisioned a connection, that Hetch Hetchy corridor going up to Scott Creek Road, to Fremont.
Yes.
So is there any way that you can have, do some research and see if connect with Fremont, if that would be?
Yes, we did reach out to the city of Fremont on how we could coordinate our bikeway development or actually trail development so that they could cross city boundary. So that is part of that effort.
Okay, good. That's wonderful. And I think the Open Space Authority has monies for that as well. For that, I think that measure that they passed a couple of years ago for any new trails. Okay, and I'm glad you got the pilot street sweeping project. That's really important. December, Bay Area Express Lanes. Can you expand on that more, Bay Area Express Lanes?
So that is the MTC led project. So the express lane essentially is implementation of carpools as well as express lane. So toll lane, essentially, that's what express lane means. So toll lane and carpool lane is being implemented throughout the Bay Area. The latest one is the 880 corridor that will be coming down from Alameda County to the border of Santa Clara County, essentially Milpitas. That is getting ready to open, I believe, MTC said in September of this year.
Okay,
so I'll bring additional information regarding the Bay Area Express Lane program beyond 880, but in general throughout the Bay Area, such as 101, 280, 237 on the freeway section, and how that expansion will impact the city.
Okay, I had my cities association meeting last night, and they did discuss that the county is, I think the city of Mountain View is they created a detailed plan. You might want to tap into it and see what it is. It's about traffic mitigation. It's called cut the commute, something to that effect. But it's really to try to get people away from single driver users, to try to get them off, to try to create other options for them. So anyway, they created some type of a plan. You might want to check in with them, see exactly what it is. We might be able to get some ideas from them. So yeah, but I like this. Yeah, it would be great.
Okay.
Those are good days, October, not December.
Okay, great.
One more. Sorry. So I did send an email about the street surface score. Is that the couldn't remember what that was. Is that the PCI one?
Correct. That is pavement condition index. Just to touch on that a little, the current PCI score average for the city's roadway is 73, which is considered good by the MTC scale. So 70 to I believe 80 is considered good. 80 and above is great, and then below 70 is poor. So the city has an average rating of good condition roadway.
Okay, yeah, because I know that's one thing that from previous mayors, that was like the one thing we wanted to make sure, and even the previous councils, actually, I should say, one thing we always wanted to be above 70. So I'm glad that we're above 70. Maybe we could, hopefully, well, maybe not right now because of the funding, but that's one thing I'm really proud of our city that, and I've even had people from other cities comment about our streets that, wow, our streets are not they don't have potholes, they're not cracked, and they're really, so I do get a lot of comments, and I know that's one thing all the previous councils that I've served on, they always made sure that we were above 70. It was like one of those things. So I'm glad that we're up there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we don't, do we have any public comment for this business item 4? Or pardon me, 5?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have any public comment on this item.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just wanted to be careful here. So we'll move on to item number 6. It's funny, the PowerPoint or the presentation mode is on the agenda, and I'm scrolling with my mouse, but it's not moving because
they control it.
I know.
I know, I was doing that too.
I just wanted to share that. Yeah, I was like, wait, no, that's not mine. Okay. Moving on to other topics. I do want to take a moment here to continue to praise our city staff and the engineering department and anybody else that was working on the green bike lanes. Residents have really enjoyed that this summer. There is a well-known high demand and low supply for bicycles across our country and our city. On the social media, I see a lot of families with their children, as the whole family is going on bike rides throughout Milpitas and the region. And I think we have been planning for the green bike lanes for some time, and the timing couldn't be any better. And it looks great out there. The homeowners appreciate it. I know over in the Jacqueline area, I know it certainly has been positive for their home values, and so I just want to continue to thank our city staff for and each person who put their time into that with every single bike lane on every street. So thank you. Councilmember Montano, did you want to provide any thing here as we go towards the end of the agenda?
No, I just want to say thank you, staff, for all the great work you do and all the time that you put in. This is moving forward. We're all, I know this is a hard time with COVID, but you guys are really doing a great job and making sure that we're getting informed and keeping us on top of things. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. And I'll look to our city staff. Is there any other comments before we go towards the end of the agenda?
Staff have no additional information to add.
Okay, great. Looking all around my screens. Fantastic. Okay, great. So item number 7, next meeting, Wednesday, October the 14th. I can meet earlier on Friday afternoons. If we do a Wednesday, I would need to kindly request for us to meet at the earliest 5 p.m.
I'm good. I'm good anytime. I'm retired, so I'm flexible, and whatever is I'm willing to accommodate you whatever time you want to do it. I'll be there.
Steve?
Yes.
Could we, if to accommodate the mayor's schedule, could we look at Friday? If we look at Friday, we'd have to look at October 9th, because on, I think we have a city school thing happening on the next Friday, but maybe we can just poll and see if there's other Fridays that would work.
October 9th.
Yeah.
Mayor and Councilmember Montano, would the 9th work for both of you?
Yes.
Yeah, for me, it would.
Okay, so we will target the October 9th at 3 p.m.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. So we have that. And I want to thank everybody again for a great subcommittee meeting. I always look forward to going over our transportation business. Everything looks like it's going according to plan, and always a great a group to spend the afternoon, if only for an hour or two. So with that being said, this meeting is adjourned, and everybody please have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.